thank you very much for checking out my videos. I do greatly appreciate it. We are in a 2013 Hyundai Genesis. We're going for about an hour and a half car ride up to Owen Sound and then back again. So it's a good little run to kind of work out the little kinks and little issues that it might have. We're trying to find why the vehicle was sold. In other words, is there anything that was kind of majorly wrong with it? So far, with the safety, it was all, I guess, maintenance that was put off or service work that was declined over the last 6 months or maybe a year. And the car sat for a period of time. It really didn't go anywhere. And it showed when it went through the safety and through the inspection. So it needed rotors and pads, just mainly out of what would appear to be sitting stationary. So again, it was one of those things where very easy process to get the safety done. Didn't need anything in the way of struts or ball joints or tie rods. Everything was nice and tight. Tires are in good shape as well, so no issues there, which was great. So the safety was surprisingly very reasonable, and to the most part justified by saying, okay, most of it is maintenance related. So again, things that I can actually get value out of. So by putting a set of new pads and rotors on, I'm going to get that use out of it over the next year or year and a half while the vehicle's on Turo. So I'm very happy doing that. That's not an issue from that standpoint. The tires were at 7 mil, so new would be around 11 or 12. So they're in pretty decent shape as far as traction is concerned. So it's one of those things where, again, just mildly pleased. It was not a shocking safety by a stretch of the imagination. So the road trip is to see if there's anything on this particular car that might have been, oh, that's why it was set aside, or that's why nobody's been driving it. Maybe there's a slip or a pull or a belt that's on the way out. I want to get that out of the way before it goes out with a Turo renter. So I want to be able to work things out, essentially. So on the road trip, what have we discovered so far? I've only ever been behind the wheel of this vehicle for about, I think when I picked it up, running it from the seller's place to my place was about a 30-minute drive in around there. So that was the extent of a drive, and it was really on like a back road, country area, so it really didn't get up to speed. To be honest with you, I kind of limped it home just to make sure it was safe. I didn't really push it by any stretch of the imagination, so we could get to the shop and find out what's going on with it. So I wouldn't count that as a really good test drive per se, enough to say, hey, it starts and runs and it seemed to shift okay. Like that's where that was from. So this one here, we're going up and down some hills, country roads, doing about 80 to 90K, kind of the top speed there. We're now in the 400 series with it. So this is a really good test safely to make sure the car is in decent condition. So we've noticed, at least what I've noticed, the 8-speed transmission, I think this is the first year for Hyundai's 8-speed. I don't think it's got an issue with it, but it has a really quirky selection sometimes. It can kind of get lost a little bit, kind of like it doesn't quite know whether you're accelerating or whether you're just kind of staying in pace, and it'll gear down a little bit just momentarily. Not all the time. It kind of depends on the incline of the road, the rev of the engine, and so it seems to hunt every once in a while. This is the V6 model. I didn't get the V8, mainly because it really wasn't available locally. I'm sure I could find one. But when I worked at Hyundai, what I found was the V6 seemed to be a little more of an older driver, whereas the V8 seemed to be a younger crowd that would go for that, especially the Type Rs. And the V8s and the Type Rs tend to get driven a little harder because that's kind of what they're designed for, or marketed as a bit of a performance car. So you're going to push it a little bit. Whereas the V6 is 330 horsepower, which is really decent for this particular size of car. It moves along just fine. You're not feeling anything as far as you've downgraded exponentially by going to the 6. That's not the case. But I find that whoever bought these particular cars with the V6 at the time bought them because they were just nice cars. Like that's essentially it. Lease rates were decent. They maintained and serviced them. Usually they were a little bit of an older driver, replacing usually a Crown Victoria or something that's like rear-wheel drive North American or a 300 series. And they're just looking for a different flair to the car a little bit, right? So that's what I find with the V6s, at least. When I worked at Hyundai, that was the case. Most of the buyers were Again, very level-headed, very reasonable. So V8s tend to be a little bit more spirited, a little more sport-oriented, want a little more performance, so they tend to push it. That's what I found with that. Interior-wise, the previous owner maintained this pretty well. The leather's in decent shape. There's no real tears or folds or heavy cracking in it. There's some signs of wear, but it's nothing really that you'd write home about. Once I detail and give this a nice dressing, like a saddle butter, this will come up beautifully. Like essentially, it'll look like a new car on the inside. Audio package, because it is the V6 without the tech package, which is kind of a saving grace there. If it had the tech package from 2013, the mapping system would be outdated. The audio package itself would be a little outdated as well. So it's one of those things where I've got the basic audio package with an MP3 player. See what I mean? A little dated. It has the Bluetooth, which seems to work well with my Google phone. Works well with the Samsung. Probably do just fine with an Apple phone. So it's pretty basic. It does work, but it's got the big old knobs on it, the push buttons, right? So it's kind of a throwback audio package from that standpoint. Odds are I will be replacing that with a modern touchscreen. Probably something from Amazon. Probably be a few $100s to get something that's reasonably decent. Something with a little bit of a mapping system to it as well. So I can have that on the Turo ads as saying, hey, look, if you need to pair up your phone, or you want to use Apple CarPlay, or you're going to use your music library, which most people do today, it'll be more of an integrated feature that way, which I think will be a benefit. So that's probably the big thing as far as upgrades are concerned. Window tinting, I've been thinking about it, but it's one of those things where I kind of look at it and go, if this car is kind of a little older driver, I think. So again, in my region, I don't have a lot of competition, but the visibility here without the tint is spectacular. It has a factory tint to it. I think the glass is polarized and double paned. So there isn't any real glares through the interior. You're not getting a real blind spot, which is nice. The pillars are of a reasonable size, so you can see all the way around 360 pretty comfortably. There's a little blind spot in the back if you don't use the mirror, surprisingly. The mirrors are not power operated. I think on the next trim line up, they would tilt in, tilt out. So this is a fairly basic vehicle from that standpoint. I like that because I think this year, just given the timeline, I think those power mirror features in all likelihood would be faulty. It doesn't have a host of technology to it because, again, it is just limited. It's not dressed up as far as packages are concerned. So I like that from that standpoint. So I think once I do the audio package, give it a nice clean, work through any little quirks or problems the vehicle might have, and so far, I'm not really experiencing anything. We'll do some more videos with walk-arounds and kind of detailed assessments, how the features work, how the car performs. We'll talk about accessories. We'll probably get a little more into it, and we'll probably talk about this 3.8 liter engine. We'll probably do some basic stuff. I want to do a transmission service. I want to service the rear end. We want to flush out the coolant, do a replacement there. So again, it's going to be fun content, and I think it's going to be one of those things where it's not a horribly popular car with the 3.8. You don't see a lot of it out there as far as on the internet, so I think it'll be a nice little change over the V8. So if you're out there shopping, you want to go, geez, I found a V6, we're going to kind of get into that. So hopefully you like it. I really appreciate thumbs up. Love subscribers. I think I'm sitting around that 400 mark. The more subscribers I get, the more thumbs ups I get, means that I'm going to put a little more energy into the fundamentals of YouTube. It means I'm starting to build a YouTube studio for the live sessions, so the quality will go up as far as production is concerned. As far as doing the in-car stuff, you're stuck to a phone right now. I might get a little lapel mic down the road, but you're essentially getting really low-end production value. As that kind of moves along, if you find the content to be of interest and you go, geez, it would be great if you did better stuff, again, that's where thumbs up and subscriptions feeds the machine a little bit. So maybe I'll get motivated to get a proper GoPro, get a proper microphone, and go from there. Otherwise, you're going to have to crank the volume up a little bit and just bear with me. We got these little swirly roads in the back here, which I gotta tell you, this Genesis, corners really well. The only thing I can kind of compare it to is my Jag, and the Jag is spectacular when it comes to, well, cornering. That X-Type is, just the nature of it is very good as far as that's concerned. It's not real high speed. It's not a super fast car, but it's very competent. This one's got a real push to it. That 330 horsepower that's in the V6 is really nicely geared up with this transmission. Now the transmission itself, as I kind of mentioned, I think in an earlier video, is an 8-speed, and it hunts a little bit between that 3rd speed and I think probably around that 5th. It's not sure whether you're accelerating or settling down, so it'll kind of buzz a little bit depending on the angle of the road, the pitch of your car. So I do find that to be there, and that might also be a sign that it's time to change out the fluids or to do a service. It's not really slipping, it's performing fine. It's just, I think it's from the first year production. I think that's just the nature, or maybe they're all kind of like that. It's not horribly bad. It's not one of those things where I'd say, hey, you can really notice it, but it's one of those things you kind of go, okay, there's a bit of a hunt there depending on what you're doing. Or it may just be learning my driving style. Maybe it's just taking time for that. I know it's got a static system in it, so it does kind of go back based on acceleration, history. I think it's got a yaw and pitch in it as well. So I think it does kind of program itself a little bit to the nature of the driver of the car. It's not like a custom setup or anything like that, but I think it does have that feature to it. Airbags, it's loaded with them. It's not the base car. I don't think the base car was actually sold in Canada. I've never seen one with cloth interior. So this is what they call the limited, or I think the GLS model is what it came up when I decoded the VIN. So it's nicely equipped. It's got the sunroof, leather seating, power windows, power locks, memory seats, remote key entry. It's got the fast key or fast key style. So when you approach the vehicle, the little dome lights on the mirrors light up to light the ground so you can see where your door handle is and around the car. That is actually kind of nice. The other one that it has is got a little push button on the actual handle itself, so you don't have to dig your pockets to get the key to get in. It's nice from there. Sunroof works great. Everything seems to function on the car. Air conditioning is decent. Climate control's working. So it's spectacular from that regards. So again, just a nice, comfortable car. So glad you were listening. We're at the 12-minute marker change. We'll talk to you later. Have a pleasant and enjoyable day. And again, stay tuned. We're going to do some more videos, and there'll be some out there about the features and functions of the car.